don't listen to what people tell you. If you like a certain kind of music, you just go out and enjoy it. I mean, people who tell you that whole segments of the musical world are just going to wither away at a moment's notice don't usually know what they're talking about. It's the ones that tell you about the new thing that's coming in. Those are the ones that are really messed up, because nobody can predict that.
No one knows when they ask those questions about where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the difference between rock then and rock now is mainly in hardware. The hardware for doing
what's used to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there were things attached to rock that aren't anymore. It seemed to be all tied up with the youth movement, the war movement, and all those things. And now it just seems a form of popular music.
I think it always was merely a form of popular music, and the attachments to movements and things like that were devices of the media. It's very difficult for media to talk about music in the United States without attaching some extracurricular message to it, because since this is an industrial society, and that's really the bottom line here, unless something performs some function of an industrial nature, who needs it, you know? So consequently, you don't really care about whether there are any composers in America, or if there's any good music being played, or if there is any musical culture. It's all just remnant type stuff. And so in order to make rock and roll reportable to the rest of the country at large, intellectual type nerds in a city such as this would take a song which probably meant Let's Go Dance and attach some supersonic symbolism to it and start claiming poetry where there was none. I mean, you remember Lizard King poetry, don't you?
Lizard King?
Yeah.
No.
You know? Well, see what happens?
Yeah. I don't at all.
That's what Jim Morrison wrote some poems, remember?
Oh, that's right.
He was the Lizard King, and then there was Lizard King poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, publications raving for centuries about, you know, the metaphysical content of horse latitudes and so forth. And, hey, come on, baby, light my fire. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm. Is there any particular song of yours now that expresses your philosophy these days, or can you point to anything in particular, or maybe even do some lyrics for us that would?
You mean you want me to recite?
Sure. It's
well, let's see. What could I possibly recite to you that will?
Dancing Fool.
Oh, that's a safe one. Yeah. I don't know much about dancing. That's why I got this song. One of my legs is shorter than the other, and both of my feet's too long. Of course, now, right along with them, I got no natural rhythm, but I go dancing every night, hoping everything will be all right, 'cause I'm a dancing fool, etc.
Now that sounds fairly harmless, and yet some of your stuff could not be done even if the microphones weren't on and the cameras weren't.
Well, you have to understand the reason why. It's not my fault, you know, because the problem with lyrics stems from a primitive belief in this country that there are certain words in our language that will corrupt you instantaneously the moment they are uttered into the atmosphere.
Something awful will happen.
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be reasonable about this. I mean, that's like animism, you know? I mean, it's so stupid that an idea like that persists in an industrial society, you know? And because of these attitudes, and because people have spent money to build agencies to make sure that there's this whole hierarchy of people waiting for these magic words to occur in the airwaves. And they're just, you know, they're hovering. You can't see them, but they're all around here, you know. They've got snipers up in all these things up here that shoot a mask over your mouth and you can't say anything. They have them in radio stations. They have them in all television stations. They have them everywhere. And even at news...
Are you ready? He's about to say something awful.
No, I don't need to say it, because the fact of the matter is that everybody already knows what I'm talking about. So if they know what I'm talking about, why can't I say it?
That's right. You know? Because now you've induced them in their mind and made them think.
Yeah, I'm making you think dirty.
quite a feat, actually.
Making them think at all is a really rough one, but you know, you start them off by thinking dirty, and then you know. they get that sensation.
Well, I hope you're proud of yourself. You should have your mind washed out with a bar of soap. Frank, in the time remaining, one thing that's always surprising in reading about you is your, for want of a better phrase, anti-drug stand, or the fact that you people think any rock musician is a pharmacopoeia of drugs and their remnants.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not. Is any of that put on?
No, I don't use drugs. I don't like drugs. I don't like what drugs do to people. I don't like to hang out with people who are drunk and who throw up on me. And I don't like to hang out with people who are full of drugs who can fall on me. You know? And if people ask me about this all the time, and I say drugs are bad for you, but I'm not your dad. You know, you want to use drugs, go ahead. Just stay away from me. I don't like the way it smells when they smoke it, and I don't like to see people with needles. And the idea of people sticking things up their nose in order to be groovy is really repulsive. You know, it's just not my idea of a good time. And that's another reason why I can't get any songs on the radio.
Have you had any personal have you lost good friends to...
Well, I haven't seen anybody die, but I've seen people go vegetable. I've seen people who, after considerable usage of chemicals that were originally designed to be used as warfare agents, and we all know what they are, wind up in a state where they had a lot of trouble with their shoes. You know, let alone speaking the language. I mean, people who used to be okay, but wound up being in bad shape.
This didn't come from, this has been something you've always felt. It's not from seeing it around you to the point where, or trying it and having a bad experience yourself.
Well, let's put it this way. I have, in my lifetime, smoked 10 marijuana cigarettes, and invariably got a sore throat, and it made me sleepy. And I could never understand why people would keep smoking this stuff and say how high they were getting, you know, because it just seemed like it was a waste of time. I thought somebody was pulling my leg. Have you heard that one? You know, like...
I don't know, can you say that on television? Yeah, I think so. Frank, it's been a pleasure talking to you. The time has shot past us, and nice having you here. Frank Zappa. See you next time.